Good evening, folks. Welcome to another comics. Was it comic books? No, it's Kiwis and comic books and
Kiwis
whatnot.
and comic books, yeah.
Yeah, I can't even remember the name of so many freaking shows that we do, which I'm very happy to do, by the way. Thank you for joining us wherever you are in the world. Welcome and welcome to New Zealand. Welcome to our show, and I'm happy to have Lynette back, a good friend of
Yeah.
ours and mine, and been a bit sick. And but we're going to be talking about a lot of really cool stuff that she's been up to recently, and a trip that she made. Had to, and she's everywhere all the time. She's such a huge, very much into what she does. So she's everywhere, taking trips, holidays. Every time something comes up, she's out there at these events, and I'm just so cool. And yeah. And here's something like this is like Ross from Wellington, our friend, and we've just been joined by another Wellingtonian. Welcome, Rex.
Hey,
I'm in. That was instantaneous. I thought I'd be in the back room.
I got caught like that on other people, like on Niobe Comics. He's like, I get like, wait,
thrust into things, eh?
Yeah.
How are we going, guys?
Another Wellywood person and another Wellywood person in the chat. Ross Payne, caricature artist, and of course Rex is an artist and is going to be writing his own comic and doing the art for it, so creating and writing and art stuff, illustrating and stuff. Now Ross, you're welcome to come on and show off some of your work, man. I'd like to show off our Kiwis talent on this show. This is the whole thing about New Zealand, taking our amazing talent and showing people that we don't just sit over here at the bottom of the world, but we do very cool creative stuff like this, right? One of the books I picked up a whole lot of Maori language books and stuff, because I'm picking up anything to do with illustrations. But before I yabber on, Lynette, for those people who don't know you, you have a channel, and I'm going to put you on solo. I'll get you to do a proper intro, and we'll take it from there.
So, hi, I'm Lynette. I have I cosplay as Fabled Hero NZ, and I also have a YouTube page called Fabled Hero NZ. I have a monthly podcast called The Shapeshifters of Wraith, and I feature different cosplayers and different aspects of the game of Flesh and Blood, and how we build our cosplays and how we present them, and different things and struggles that we may have. I just recently did a episode in performance and how you can bring your best foot forward to bring a little bit more life to your cosplays. So that's where we're at with the Shapeshifters of Wraith. I also have done some cosplays for other things, including Aru's very own creation, Incredi-Girl, and I might delve back into that. We'll see how we go. But at the moment, I'm very much into the flesh and blood sphere of things. And that's what brought me to Queenstown for a very special 5-year celebration and a world premiere of the latest set called Heavy Hitters.
Awesome. I mean,
wow.
That's, 5 years, man. I mean, like, we got another Christchurchian. What is that called? Christchurchian or Christy or Christy or what do you guys call yourself now, Jason? Right? Up here we call fungus.
Cantabrian? Would that be suitable? That's a good question, actually. I have done
Cantabrian, yeah.
Is Canterbury down south?
There you go.
Like
there you go.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, that's sort of like the province. Yeah.
I always thought it was in Hamilton. I always like Hamilton.
No.
Welcome. Hey, jump on. Hey, if you guys are watching this for the first time and don't know what we're up to, we just talk about Kiwi creatives, and we get Kiwi guests on. We open this up to the Pacific Islands, and we'll open up to Aussie. So we're basically Oceania, and so that way, if you're out there creating comics, if you're out there making music, film, documentaries, writing books, whatever you're doing creatively, we'd love for you to come on and talk about what you're doing. Rex, take it away, man.
My name's I'm known as Rexilliun online and on Twitch. But my real name's Chris. I guess I'm a hobbyist sort of comic book artist. And like Aru said, I'm in the middle of sort of writing and producing my own comic book. And yeah, I got invited on to Plungecast by Aru probably a couple of weeks back, just to sort of discuss the local scene. And you know, have been having a blast, sort of talk to him about comics and film and some local legends. So so yeah, it's a little bit about me, I guess. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, so you know, I've been having fun with this. I think like last week we got invaded for about 2 hours or something by Canadians and Americans. After the show we'd just finished, it's an hour long, right? But like we were up till about midnight, I think, last week, and it was like, yeah,
I think we need to have like an after show. So we go like 2 hours. We talk about sort of like local, you know, the local scene, New Zealand creators, what have you. And then after sort of 2 hours or what have you, we just open it up to anyone. And then, you know, it's a free for all. And yeah, we could talk about the episode, talk about anything.
Yeah, that's a good idea, man. So I'll put the link out at about hour, I think it was like 8:30, right? Oh no, sorry, 9 o'clock, because we got to give an hour and a half to our Kiwis.
Hour and a half, 2 hours, I think, is like a good sort of time frame. Yeah.
And of course, we're waiting for Jason. Once he gets set up, he'll jump in and we'll get him to introduce himself as well. Because one of the things that I'm really keen on is networking us Kiwis out here, because I think we're sort of like, you know, we're in our own towns and stuff. Unless, you know, you have got your vehicle and you're traveling around and stuff and able to get to places, you're really pretty much stuck in your own little place, like me, right? But now, because of the way we're able to connect through the internet, we're able to see what everybody's doing and the groups that are being set up very quickly, mind you. In the last year, there have been like the whole idea of comic book illustrators in New Zealand has really blown up. Right, I'm watching a page suddenly become like 90 people to about, you know, a couple hundred join and stuff like that, because there is something about us Kiwis wanting to help each other get out there. It's not sort of like, you know, because if we create the space, somebody's got to fill it, right? So might as well open the space up to everybody. So like I said at the start, if you've got something out there, if you're creative, let me know. Let Chris know, right? We have a group on Facebook. Right, if you know, and I post it out and on all the different comic book groups, and if you're able, you know, if you see it, pass it around to the music groups. Like, we really want to make a creative scene, and because, you know, it's kind of like trying to create a really amazing, I don't know, like comedy, you know, whatever, like, because events happen everywhere, right? Which I'm going to lead into by saying that into Queenstown event. Events happen everywhere in everybody's town. And so if something's happening in your town and you're not, even if you're not the organizer or anything, like even if you're just a volunteer, just let us know, because that way we can be on here and go, hey, this is on this weekend, right? And one of the things that's on this week on Sunday is an event at Card Fight. I always say Card Fight. What is it, Lynette? You have more to do.
Card merchants. So we've got our pre-release for Heavy Hitters this weekend. I'm not sure what else is happening, but I'm sure there's a few other things. I know that there's a Magic pre-release as well coming up. I'm across all events at the moment.
So yeah, this, because you play a lot of things. That's what I was saying, that you get around, right, with all these gaming events and stuff, and you know, on your own. On your own merit to these shows. You don't let me finish, right? You get around to on your own merit to all these shows, and I think that's amazing, because that means you are, you know, you're basically representing New Zealand, you know, Whangarei, right, the Northland area. So, you know, that's what, you know, what I mean by that, because people see you out there and, you know, you're basically, what's happening in your town? What's happening in your town, you know? So this is the event that's on tomorrow.
Oh, Yu-Gi-Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
so
one game I do not play.
On Sunday, sorry. Week Sunday, isn't it?
I can't read that from here.
4th of February. Apologies.
Yeah, it's next Sunday. Yeah. So yeah, unfortunately, I don't have enough room for all the TCGs, so Yu-Gi-Oh is not one I've started participating in. I do know the basics, but we've got a very solid crew that plays. So
yeah, Yu-Gi-Oh is pretty. It's been probably one of the longest games, and then there was this other one here. Are you guys still seeing this page?
Yeah.
What's
Right.
that one?
So so card matches, whangārei, I'm sure that's all around New Zealand, right? But our local ones is actually put together, by three of our friends, right? Four of our friends, three friends, very close friends, and so that's why we kind of like, here it is. These are our friends' shop that they've put together, you got like, is there going to be a game for One Piece?
I hope there's going to be One Piece. I started playing it, but then I asked if there's more cards, and there was no more cards because there is a very short. They do short runs on the One Piece.
Yeah,
I was quite enjoying it because I started watching the comic, the comic on Netflix. So I started watching the live action,
right.
and I was like, people are saying, so I watched the comic, and I'm actually just watching the comic now, watching the anime instead. Which I'm very far behind, so I've got a lot to catch up.
How many episodes is it up to now?
Like
I mean,
I
tried to get I tried to get
in.
into it about 5 years ago, and it was up to episode 1,000. I was like, I can't be dealing with this. It's good, but I think of the math on how many hours of my life it would be. I was like, oh my goodness gracious.
I started playing it while I'm doing cosplay construction. So
okay, yeah, good strategy.
I'm hopefully picking up enough, but I spend enough hours that I should be able to watch it. But I actually enjoy the gameplay for the One Piece. It was quite fun. But there's a shortage of stock. In New Zealand, that's gone as soon as it gets here. So
I try to.
Are the sort of the? So you go.
And I'm just saying, I was just saying that I always try to pick up a couple boosters every time a new one comes out. Whenever I'm in town, I pick it up.
Right.
It's only about a couple bucks, and so $10 for 2 or 3 or whatever. And it's quite, so I always have my stack is getting bigger and bigger, unopened, right? So there's going to become a time when it's like somebody's going to go, let's open and find out what's in these, and I'm like, let's have a look. Let's do an opening show of all these different, It's not only just One Piece that I do. I do My Hero Academia, not Yu-Gi-Oh, but also Fab. And I think it's so cool for all these different games because there's, because if you're getting bored with one, you can jump onto another one. And I like that. And then you just sort of jump back, and at least you learn all these new ones. So this is the one that's on this weekend, right? On Sunday.
Yeah, this is the pre-release for heavy hitters. It's a really good entry level. As far as Fab goes, there is a myriad of ways that you can play this particular format. There is a pit fight format where you draft your cards and then you play in a 4-man pod to see who comes out the strongest, kind of thing. So heavy hitters, and also it is kind of harkening back to the first set, which is kind of Welcome to Rafe, where everything is melee and hitting in the face kind of actions. So we've got 2 brutes, we've got 2 guardians, and we've got 2 warriors, and it's all in an arena, and you're betting gold, and you're betting different things. So every time you do an attack, you can put a gold on the line, or you can put a token that gives you a bit more strength on the line, and it's kind of brings that feel of being in an arena and having a great fight.
One thing that I'm really interested in like this sort of stuff is because I myself am planning a board game, right? A fantasy board game. So anytime this sort of stuff interests me very much. Like even this morning at about 8 o'clock this morning, I had a meeting with a guy from Sweden who's an artist on one of our books called comic books called Zealandia. And it's a fantasy, with elves and stuff. And I'm going to enjoy the day that you dress up as one of our characters from there, because it's like elves, dwarves, beastmen, bunny people, orcs, and all that. And so this morning we were just like planning it out. And so I'm quite excited for that, because I know that you're into that. But let's talk about your trip. right? I was hoping that Jason would get in here and then we can do it. But let's get into your trip, and we'll start with where do we go? We went here, so let's start with this. Now let's hope that the volume's right. Thanks about that. Now, have I got you guys set up well? Yes, I have. All right, here we go.
So I'll just let this play through and then we can talk about it, okay?
Oh, the showstopper. Make sure you get the shot here. I'll do it for you.
The music's loud compared to the voices. Apologies, guys. Right on spot. It's gorgeous. Work. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was a gorgeous day.
Yeah, man. That
I just need my voice.
right, you grab a water,
Yeah.
and then I'll. Now I have to get back to. Now, let me one more. I wish these guys you could go back about 5 seconds with this. They should, at least by now, they should add it in, like YouTube. You know, see now, I'm gone too far.
It's really hard to find the beginning.
Yeah.
You
Did
don't really want to listen to Brian Gottlieb that much.
You know.
Most people will know
through,
him. He's very much been on a lot of the Magic scene as a commentator as well. So a lot of people will know Brian Gottlieb.
Oh, you mean this guy here? Okay, hold on.
Yeah.
I'll play it on comments ago. So who are these two, by the way? I mean,
So this is
Hayden
Brian
and
Gottlieb. He is a commentator and also works with Fab TSNG. And Hayden Dale is one of the #1 Australian players.
right. So that's Hayden, and of course, #1. Okay. Well, one of them, right? You said.
One of them, yeah.
Yeah. And then Brian, what's he got to do with Fab?
So he has come aboard to support. I think he's the one that actually works with James White now as well, doing a lot of the actual development as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can tell he's been working hard. Check out the under the eyes.
Well, this is day 4. So there are 2 days of celebrational.
Yeah. So you can see
that,
this is up to 7 hours, guys. So if you're going to watch this video, I'll actually put the link in the chat if you guys want to watch that.
And this is day 2, so you can watch day 1 as well.
Yeah, top 8 hitters draft, and so I want to play it through, and then we'll stop at
Yeah, they talk for a little bit. There we go. Yeah, we're good. Yeah.
And it comes up her.
So this is our Japanese cosplayer that started it off. She's our Japanese cosplayer, the one that had the flowing scarfy thing.
Yeah.
She came all the way from Japan. A very lovely lady. Actually.
Did we just go back too far? Man, this thing.
Yeah, we went way back far. It's all right. This was the best way to get the quality of the shot.
Yeah. Anyway, you carry on.
And this is one of our judges. This is Carolina Everardado, and she was one of the celebrational guests. Unfortunately, she did not win any games over the weekend over her celebrational, but she is a brilliant judge, and she's brought the brute to life because the whole community has been asking her to do a female brute, so she finally did it for them.
Okay. I just got taught something by Ross in the.
Yeah, so this. Yeah, so she's our lovely Japanese cosplayer. I don't know if you can see this. She gave me a little card of her.
Okay, let me.
Oh, crazy! That's cool.
Stop that.
It's really cool. One of her friends did it for her.
Okay, hold it up there. Yeah, there we go.
So if anyone wants to look her up, that is her name on Twitter. And she is a very brilliant cosplayer.
Now, what I'll
So
do is
it was a card event and a cosplay event. Did you have, like, was there a cosplay competition? Did you say?
Yeah, there was a cosplay competition as part of the event. Yeah.
Can you spell that for me? It's like plate her name.
Spell
And
it
I'll
out.
just help you.
TOURAH. I actually follow her on Twitter. If you
Like the last name, or is it at Tora?
that's the only part that I know of her in English, because the rest of her whole page is in Japanese.
All right, let's weird
There
because
was
there's like a whole bunch of Tora names out there.
Yeah, it is apparently a vehicle as well. So,
Right.
So she's hard to find, but she is a brilliant cosplayer, and I really enjoyed meeting her and her friends, her contingent that she came with. There was a Japanese store owner, and they're really much they're from Osaka, and they were very much looking forward to having more fab events, and they're going to possibly, they announced at the event that they're going to have the next, world premiere event happening over there in Japan later this year.
So for those people that don't know, Flesh and Blood is a New Zealand created game.
Yeah.
That took off, what, it's like 5 years?
5 years ago, because it was 2019, so 5 years ago later this year, but yeah. This is the beginning of the celebration year. Yeah, so that's Carolina. This is Bravo. He is a New Zealand cosplayer.
Right.
He is a performing arts. He actually is in performing arts. His name is Ush, or Ushcon. He is also graciously appeared on my Shapeshifters Array episode, but he was very inspirational in the way he spoke, so I hope people will go on and have a look. He really felt an affinity for his character, which definitely got him by a top 4 in the event. So
Awesome.
And as you can see, as he goes on, he's pretty good at it.
Yeah. Yeah, he's really into it, right? And that's the thing about cosplay. Like, it is the part of the play where you're acting it out, and you're part of that character. It makes it really cool. Now,
what's the company that makes Flesh and Blood? Because I didn't know that it was. This is the first time I'm hearing about it.
Legend Story Studios. Legend Story Studios, based in Auckland, New Zealand. Legend Story Studios.
Okay.
I'll get you to talk about it while I got to find something, Lynette, if that's okay.
Legend Story Studios was spearheaded by James White and a few close friends. There's a Chris, and and then there's the art director that we don't hear much about, but he is definitely there. They are based in Auckland, and this game has been developing and growing since 2019, which is amazing considering the fact that we've gone through COVID and so forth.
Sure.
There was a very big boom in collectibles in 2020 when people just had nothing to do and money to spend.
Right.
Really injected some money into the game, but we also kind of semi-went online, so it meant that people could learn to play the game in the safety of their home, and then once they were allowed out, they were all willing and ready to go to the shops and play. You're in Wellington. In Wellington, there is Cerebus Games.
Yep, I'm familiar, yep.
Yep. Unfortunately, Upper Hutt, we had sushi nights, but they're looking at a new kind of lineup. So they no longer have a retail store, I believe. Those are the two I have a lot to do with. I know that there are other places in that area that have Flesh and Blood, but Kiki from Cerebus Games they are a wonderful person, and they've always supported me in all my ventures. So I always recommend people go there first.
Nice. Yeah, I know Cerberus Games is just around the corner from Graphics, so sort of around that sort of particularly Cuba Street area in Wellington. There's sort of very a lot of kind of collectibles and comics and things like that. That's awesome. it sort of reminds me of, I'm just looking at the website now, it sort of reminds me of like grinding gear games, you know? I mean, me and I have been sort of talking the last sort of episodes about, you know, companies and New Zealand companies and creators that have sort of, you know, it used to be, I guess, in the 90s, where if there was a New Zealand company or creative, you could tell, you know, there was a difference between, and maybe quality or the sort of the production value between, you know, something made in New Zealand and something made in the States. But that's not there anymore, you know. So I think of grinding at games of, is it Pillars of Eternity, that big sort of MMO game that's being made, massively successful. See it on Twitch all the time. But you know, again, I saw that in the wild and was like, wow, that looks like a great game. And then someone told me, hey, that's actually been made in New Zealand. I was like, oh, okay, cool. So it's
sounds like something I have to look up myself. I haven't seen that one, so
yeah, I'm pretty sure Pillars of let's have a look here. It's made by this studio called Grinding Gear Games. Pillars of Eternity. There you go.
So Pillars of Eternity. Let's have a look at that site. Is it a .com site?
Since we're showing something off, I'll just say that. Yep.
It's a video game, so I'm sure it has a website, and I'm sure Grinding Gear Games has a website, but you can find it on Steam. I mean, it's, you know, it's massive. You know, it's sort of Diablo-esque MMO kind of style game.
Yeah, I mean, like, look, if anybody out there, right, knows who these people are that are creating this game, let us know, man. Like, I know we're not, you know, big friggin' YouTubers, but it's just celebrating New Zealand stuff, you know.
Gotta start somewhere. Gotta start somewhere.
Yeah. So, you know, if you guys know anybody out there that's doing that stuff, you know, we'd love to just let other people know. Like, I never knew this game existed until right now, right? So now, you know, this allowed like new people getting introduced to new stuff, new games. You know, it's on Steam, right? Is that on Steam? Right?
Yeah,
there?
it's big. It's you know,
yeah,
I
Xbox
mean,
One, PS4.
It'd be interesting to see what the player base is, but yeah, it's you know, if you're on Twitch, you know, Quinn plays it a lot. New Zealand streamer. I'm pretty sure Ads Gold plays it or has played it. So yeah, it's is it World of Warcraft? No, but you know, it's you know, it's up there, and everyone says it's you know, real good game, sort of in the same vein as Diablo. You know, I think when Diablo 4 came out, a lot of people were sort of, you know, because this was already in the market, and you know, Diablo 4. This was sort of the game to beat, you know, and people were kind of like, I don't know if they did it, you know. So it's yeah, it's definitely up there. It's on PS4 if you got a console, so on PS5.
Oh, nice. I haven't been on my Steam account for a long time.
Yeah, fair enough. There you go. I think it's free to play. I think they get you with the old sort of, you know, microtransactions and what have you. But apparently they're you know, cosmetics. It's cosmetics and stuff. Cool.
Make and claim inappropriate. Okay.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's in the vein of Diablo, so it's pretty dark, and you know, you'll have people drinking at inns and stuff, you know. So yeah,
it's cool.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
So Obsidian Entertainment.
So Obsidian, I mean, Obsidian has done some pretty big stuff.
Yeah.
I think they're the original creators of Fallout, right? Like Fallout 1 and 2, I think.
It looks familiar. I watch my partner play a lot of Fallout.
Yeah.
Right. So did you say this was a Kiwi game or no?
Yeah, it's made here. You know, it's produced by Grinding Gear Games.
Right.
Pillars of Eternity. So yeah.
That's cool, man.
Maybe I'm thinking of the wrong game. I'm looking at it going, it's, hang on, let's have a look.
Are we promoting some other stuff?
It's Pillars of something. Jesus.
Yeah.
Hang on.
It's interesting because we do have quite a very strong digital
Path of Exile. It's okay. Same acronym, different. Sorry. Path of Exile.
I know that game.
There you go. Sorry, my bad.
Yeah.
Hey, it's Friday. Yeah, it's late on a Friday.
Right.
Okay. Please forgive
Excel
me 1,000
in
apologies.
it, right?
Yeah, I was looking at the trailer going, this isn't right. When do I say it's not right? Oh yeah, Path of Exile.
Something that's like
Path
a
of
bit
Exile.
There you go. That's it.
I've heard of that.
Just
one.
joking, guys. Just joking. Not that I'm just saying it's a different, But like,
I'm sorry.
That's all good.
So, core starter pack. So, wait. So, is this playing like a trading card game? Because
No. This is. I mean, I understand it's like Diablo 4. It's sort of like a
The Affliction
top-down
mystery
RPG,
box contains
whether
21 microtransactions, each with several variations. As always, these microtransactions are purely cosmetic and do not affect gameplay. You have an equal chance of opening each type of microtransaction from a mystery box, but some individual variations can be rarer than others. You will not receive duplicate copies of any variations you already have.
man, the graphics are cool.
Use the Nethermancer body armor to attune with the dead. Nearby corpses of slain enemies radiate, allowing you to gather their souls when you walk near. Absorbed souls are contained within an effigy when you die, waiting for you to return and collect them. There are also matching boots, gloves, helmet, and a cloak to complete the set. The Eldritch Royalty body armor displays a rune of sovereignty above you that improves the more auras you have affecting you. Matching boots, gloves, and helmet are also included in this box. Place the entranceway hideout decorations and use them to travel to the Labyrinth, Menagerie, Azurite Mine, or the Forbidden Sanctum. The tumbling orb pits glow when there is currency of a matching type on the ground, letting out a shockwave when that currency is picked.
So, this is just for like the mystery box and add-ons and all that
Advertising.
stuff. Well, look, the end of the day,
You'll probably able to
20%
find
off.
it. You'll probably able to find like a trailer, a gameplay that you could play in the background. But yeah, I mean, I just thought I'd bring it up because you were talking about Flesh and Blood for a while, and I thought it was like Magic the Gathering, So I thought, let's, it's imported from overseas, that's great. But whenever when you see something like that's high end being made here, that sort of always puts a smile on my face,
Yeah.
And I was just saying to Lynette, that's sort of a theme sort of running through the last sort of couple of episodes. It's been, we can do whatever, the people overseas can do, the Americans can do, if you put your mind to it. So,
so that's basically it. I mean, like, at the end of the day, I think, showcase what we can do. I mean, like, if you, now,
don't mistake. James White has been a very in the TCG world very strongly. He came from background of Yu-Gi-Oh and Clash or something, and a few other games as well. And he also played for the New Zealand team for Magic a number of times. So he does know the TCG background very well.
Nice. So what? He's sort of the game designer, I'm guessing.
Yeah. He is one of the founding members. He is the figurehead mostly, and him and Chris Gearing, and I still can't remember the art director's name because he keeps himself out of the spotlight. The spotlight. Yeah, very much.
Gotcha.
So.
I have to check. I have to check it out. That's awesome.
Creative recluse.
Creative. I think it's Jason. No, I can't. I don't want to even name him wrong. I'll just leave it there at that.
Yeah,
fair enough. Fair enough.
Listed on the website, but I just don't want to name him wrong.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So this is me
Let's
and
return
James
to
White's
Fab
mother.
and this event.
Yeah. So this is
Sorry, say again?
me. This is me, James White's mum, Claire,
Yeah.
and James White, of course. So there is a bit of special story about this. I didn't finish my cosplay in time that I wanted to take, so I decided to take down my tailor costume, which I hadn't entered in anything yet anyways. Did some adjustments to it, and I was getting ready because I have a friend who's been in the TCG world for a long time. His name is Gene Bunbury, and I was setting up his stall. He let me have a space there, and I started talking to. I'd been introduced to Claire the day before, and I was talking to her, and I started pulling out my tunic, and I says, "Oh, I was going to get someone to wear this," and she said, "Can I wear it?" And I says, "Sure,
Wow.
you can wear it." And she told me the most amazing story about the card, which is what my cosplay was. It's a card given to winners, so I can't even show you one because I've never won one. And it has, she is the subject matter for Taylor, because she was a seamstress as well in her
Right.
years.
Oh, excellent.
She felt it was very significant, and she felt very privileged to be part of my cosplay, whereas I felt very privileged she wanted to be part of my cosplay.
Yeah.
Down to there's little Easter eggs within the card. There is a picture of a husband and wife in the card, and that is James and his wife.
Oh,
You know what that
excellent.
reminds me
Okay.
of? I wanna-
And they do. Yeah. What was
that
that?
look on your face is the same look I had in this. See that? It's the same gushing look, right?
Yeah.
You're like, this is the moment,
Yeah.
and you don't want to, you're enjoying it. I'm like thinking that's exactly the same friggin' face
Yeah.
I brought on that you have.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
'cause
I was just so pleased. Claire did want me to be in the middle, but I thought the balance would be out for the photo
yeah,
because of the white and green.
yeah, it's a good choice. I mean, it's really well done. I mean, it's very artistic. Everything green in the, dark green in the middle with the cream on the outside. Well, ivory, is it?
Yeah.
Is it ivory?
Yeah.
What do you call that?
Ivory. But it just happened that way because James didn't coordinate with me with his clothing, so because I don't have any.
All right.
I don't have any guys over that.
I think Jason needs a link.
Yeah, no, Jason forgot that there's a link on the main chat one.
Hang on.
That's where I
No,
found
he's
it.
got it now. We got you, Jace.
Oh, he's got it? All right, sweet.
Yeah, we got you. Yeah, so this is my collection for like 5 years, because ever since we introduced it at
Ari's garage. Ari's
at
garage.
Plunge in 2019, like
Garage.
yeah. And most of these I've actually paid, like 90% of these I've paid for, right? All unopened, all these.
What's the alpha there? Have you?
What do you mean that only some of them you paid for? Where do the other ones come from?
No, gifted.
Okay. I was like, oh, why are you stealing booster packs? I was like,
I get gifted. Yeah. So, but the other thing is, I have some weird collections as well that I've bought, like stuff like Pokemon stuff. All right, that are really expensive and stuff. Even though I don't play Pokemon, never played it, but some weird, crazy stuff. But so you got My Hero Academia and 3 booster packs. No idea what's in them. And then I was telling you earlier about, that one. And there's a couple.
That's the One Piece game that you were talking about.
Yeah, and then there's a booster pack here, but I think there's some more around here somewhere. Oh no, yeah, and I've actually ended up with a Magic somewhere as well, because there's a new one came out. When did this one come out?
What are we looking at?
Crimson
Val.
Crimson Val. Yeah, that's a little bit older. That was the werewolf set.
That's probably why I got it, because of the werewolf set. Yeah, because I'm writing a werewolf comic book right now and vampires, so I'm like, that's my jam, werewolves when it comes to monsters. Next one.
All right, so this is me in Dima Mata. I like this because I actually look like I'm happy in this picture. I don't know
All the way
what
down
I
to the
did with my
toes and
face.
shoes. Yeah. Is that leather?
No, that's thermoplastic and foam.
It's good though. Like it looks really, really well done.
Yeah. So Dima Mata is one of the US content creators that got on basically at day dot. So they flew him over for the celebrational as well.
Awesome.
And I've
That's
actually
pretty cool.
corresponded with him a lot online. It was really nice to finally meet him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I'm trying to figure out which one is this the one that was like before? That's the costume that his mother was wearing.
No, it's the spring tunic. I don't have that at the moment because I put it in to be graded.
Right.
It's Fyandale spring tunic.
What do you mean by graded?
So I sent it to PCG, which is also another New Zealand company.
Right.
So yeah, that's a Fyandale spring tunic, and it's a card that you have on the field as a chess piece, because in this game you have armor that's
Right.
on the field. When you start, it's kind of like a normal battle where you have your armor and sometimes it gets beaten up and you no longer have it. Instead of building it up, you start with it and then it goes away. The Fyandale.
So what you mean is like a CGC kind of grading. So it's like your card's graded and it's got
So kind of like people might know, what's the grading place in America?
CGC.
CGC. Yeah, it's kind of like that, but it's PCG is a New Zealand built company which now has offices in Australia, Germany, and actually I do have a graded card from them.
Yeah. So it's basically for comics, it's like this. You get a graded. Yeah. Hold it up. Let me just go pop it up there for people who don't know what, because cards get graded as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's signed as well.
Yeah, it's signed by James White. I got graded really low because this was just a token that was kicking around in my bag.
Oh no.
So the corners are a bit scuffed. The surface is a bit rough, but it's certified that it's a signature of James White though. So that for me it was more a what do you call it? Significance to me to have it graded. And I also had so Matt Rogers is the owner and curator of PCG, and he actually had to message me because my tunic is actually signed by someone who no longer works for the LSS, and so they can't verify the signature on it. And I said that's fine, it's just grade it. It's special to me because I know the story behind it. She's the one who wrote the story for the tunic. Right. Nikki, who has actually changed her name. I don't know what her name is anymore, but she's actually changed her name since she left the company. So, so her signature doesn't really exist anymore, anyways. But it's special to me because I know that she signed it. So, but they're a New Zealand-based company. So, if you want to grade, I think they grade Yu-Gi-Oh, they grade MTG. Don't know if they do comic books yet, though.
So the question here is, how much does it cost to grade?
So it cost me $35 at an event. I think that might be slightly special. But if they're higher value, sometimes it costs more. But they have an Auckland office where you can drop off and arrange to pick up at a later time. Or I got free shipping in New Zealand. So I'm not sure if that was a special thing for the event, but yeah, that's the way you can get your things graded. And it is a New Zealand company. And as I say, I'm very lucky that I am on. I can message the person who owns the company, but they've got a place in America. And if anyone knows Rudy, he is actually the primary shareholder of that in America. And then there's Germany and Australia and New Zealand. And then New Zealand was where they started.
All right, so I want to show you something. and it's this. And we have a surprise guest, finally. All right, so we make him wait.
Come on,
So
guys.
this is PCG, behind the scenes of Premier Card Gaming headquarters. They are online. This is what we're just talking about. This is Fabled Hunters. There's the ones who are doing the tour.
Yeah. So Fable Hunters, I've been following them for a long time. They're a big time collector. And they've been part of collecting Flesh and Blood for a long time, and they're based in the States. But yeah, he got to have a I've actually watched this video myself, so he got to go through and see what the great process was, which is really cool. But yeah, it's another New Zealand company that deserves our support.
It's good that it's here, right? Like, I mean, I know like it's cost like about $60 to get a friggin', you know, something like 60 US to get one of these things.
There you go. You got there's different types of card games there, featuring the different types of card games.
Grand design. I have a grand here somewhere.
Yeah.
Oh, grand.
So
what is it called? Grand
Archives. No,
that's it. I was kind of think of grand design.
it's not a changing houses show.
Yeah. It's a grand design. Needs good bones.
Yeah. So basically
So
they have the real high tech equipment. They first do the grading situation, doing the visual look, and then they put it under two types of cameras to see if there's any impurities that cannot be seen, or that are like that you can only see in low light, like print lines and so forth, and centering is easier to see under different lights.
Yeah. It's cool, man.
Should we introduce Jason? Jason's been...
No, we will always let him sit there for a little while quietly. So
he's got the most professional setup I've maybe ever seen. I feel he's got a lot of effort. I feel bad that he's just sitting there. There you go. He's got the $500 mic.
He's a good friend of ours. He's chilling. So check out this, right? So this is all the branded stuff that the card and stuff, I guess, that they'll be locking up, right? You know, to sealing up the stuff.
Boxes that they get sent out in. Actually, I have one of the boxes here.
Oh, show us. Let's
because Jason owns a print company, don't you, Jason?
Yes, he does, and we're gonna nail him down about that soon. As soon as we finish this one here.
This is the PCG box.
Yeah, show us. I'll do a close up of that.
And it comes in that box, but it's always bubble wrapped.
Right.
But I only got one card, and it came in that box.
Yeah.
Which means there's
it's gonna move around a lot, right?
Yeah, it's well protected.
That's good.
And
awesome.
I mean, and yeah, they've just recently brought out a new one where it's down to about that size, so it can fit in your deck box. So I'll share that when that comes along. That should arrive to me in the next week.
Cool, man. That's awesome. You're welcome to be part of the show anytime, Lynette. It'll be awesome to have somebody, a cosplayer, gamer, you know, part of the scene for us. It'll be really cool. Now that we have a publisher on, let's introduce Maestro. Wow. Rex, I'll get you to do the intro. Introduce Jason.
Jason can do his own intro. I mean, you know, cornerstone of the comic scene.
I'm full screen.
Wait, hold on. I'm going to silence everybody so we can have a really good, because I promised to have a.
I'll just let the book, you know, speak for itself. So, sorry, I am full screen. So you want an intro? I thought I was waiting to be introduced. And now it's gone quiet. So I'm just going to talk. And I'm assuming I'm still connected. Okay. Because it's gone really weird since it's gone silent. Yeah, so Jason Lenny, I wear more than a couple of hats. But they all cross over between my real world gig, which is my main gig is a brand agency, Ledge brand agency. So creative branding, working with obviously commercial clients. And part of that, under that umbrella, is Beyond the Ledge Press. So that's like that publishing arm. And then what comes under that are my voluntary work, putting together Funtime Comics. And then, of course, New Zealand Comic Creatives, which is, what's the best way to say that? That is an umbrella organisation to represent New Zealand comic artists from around the country, focus at Armageddon events, where we have a stand given to us, donated to us by the very generous Bill from Armageddon. And yeah, that's where we get to sell our wares and comics and get locals on the stand, meeting the public, interacting. So a couple of hats, but they all sort of work together. Funtime Comics, again, it's gone silent. I'm assuming I'm still going out onto the internet. Can someone just acknowledge?
There
we go. There we go. No, that's good. That's good. I needed some sign because honestly,
you're not just in the void, Jason.
No, that's good. That's good. Because tangent. I'm going to take tangents because I like tangents. I run role-playing games. You can see them up on the shelf. We were playing on Discord the other week, and I was talking to my crew for about 5 minutes. You know, I was the game master, telling them all these legends and backstories, and then suddenly we realized after 5 minutes that my mic had died, and I didn't know because everything was just silent. So that's cool. So anyway, comic, RPGs, design, branding, geek stuff. Yeah. Pops. I could talk about.
I mean, I was gonna ask you, Jason. How? I mean, we're talking about a New Zealand produced card game. I mean, how hard would it be to print your own sort of card game, even if it was just sort of the start of something? How hard would that be? Is that something within sort of your company's scope or?
Yeah, sure. So my background in printing, obviously I came from the design angle. As a graphic designer, when you're designing for print, that is the last step. So that becomes you start learning to design for print and how print works, how files need to be set up. Because I had an interest in business, 10 years ago, I bought a printing franchise. And we ran that until early 2018. I learned a phenomenal amount from that. We didn't actually have any gear in our studio. We were purely that creative studio, still dealing directly with clients, either designing, as graphic designers and branders, creating through to print, or the nature of a print franchise, we would get their files, then either have to tidy them up, or they'd be amazing designers themselves, and we wouldn't have to stress and take them through to production. So our production was based in Wellington, so it was like a hub and spoke model. Everything would get shipped back from Wellington, which works fine. I mean, it's how if any of us are ordering print from overseas, it's the same scenario, but it's coming from Wellington. Post that franchise to where I'm at now, mainly focusing on the branding and then the publishing, I'm still running the same model. I have several wholesale trade relationships with printers. One is Wellington, one's Christchurch, and so they'll get obviously printed in-house and then dispatched where our customer is, Christchurch, Auckland, Wellington, wherever. In terms of a card game, look, end of the day, the sexy part is the card game. It's the artwork, it's the design, it's the mechanic that outplays. Printing is just the process to get it on paper, to get it in front of your hands. So a card is just a glorified business card. It's a small brochure. That's what it is. So it comes down to the real thing, and this is the real question. It comes down to the cost and the economies of scale. And this is one of the issues of printing in New Zealand versus printing in China. So it's a lot more costly to print here. So usually companies will go offshore to do large print runs. If you're doing gaming, then you're looking at units in the thousands, tens of thousands. So you're going to do it in China and they'll get shipped back here. Or because we're such a small market, we're having to distribute to the greater world. So then you're dealing with distributors around the world. That's a whole nother model. Sorry, that's a big picture. Does that sort of answer? Do you have more?
Yeah,
specific-
no, absolutely. I mean, the reason I ask is my brother, he's well into sort of the TCG scene, and I sort of every once in a while joke about making a game. It was like, look, you've been playing these things enough. Let's make our own. And then we sort of started to talk about mechanics. I was like, well, if I did all the artwork and did all the design work and what have you, would it be possible to actually manufacture it here, or like I said, would I have to go over to, across the somewhere to China or something like that?
I can answer where the flesh and blood is manufactured, if that helps. So it may be produced here, but it's manufactured in Belgium and Japan. Because unfortunately, we do not have. So Belgium's the same place where Magic is produced. So the Belgium print is one of the first that has the paper packs.
Yeah, this
the
one here.
Japanese don't have the capacity to have paper packs. So unfortunately, in New Zealand, we get the plastic packs primarily.
That's cool.
So that's the plastic, and this is the paper, isn't it?
Yeah,
it feels different.
This is a paper pack.
Yeah.
We were very fortunate to get paper packs at the release sim. Unfortunately, I don't think we have the printing capacity here yet. But I mean, you may know more about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the packets itself. I mean, that's when you start going into packaging, which is a whole nother.
Right.
There's a whole area of print, which I don't have a lot to do with packaging. That sometimes with our creative business, we'll be designing packaging. More often than not, that is being manufactured offshore. If you were doing it here in New Zealand, it would likely be because you're doing your first print run. You're going to test the market. This is version 1. But you've already got
the first test, because it's right here. You can walk up to if what I'm doing locally, which I did, is walk up to get a taxi or whatever, go to the printers and go, hey, here's my first, I want to see what this is going to look like physically, right? And then later on, because you did this one, right? So with us, when we did our one last year, it was basically, there's mistakes on the back, we can fix this again and so on. But tell us a bit about the process of this. Just jump away from the cards to that.
Sure. Yeah. I mean,
you print a lot of comics, right? So
here's the second.
Let me put me up into solo again, and you can show that again.
Oh yeah,
please.
Yeah. I mean, look, these are just business cards, but these are our promo cards for our Kickstarter.
Right.
With QR. So,
that's basically what you round the corners out and you got it.
Yeah, and to round the corners, you get them die cut, which you can do here. Hey, look, for one of my home D&D games, this is a PDF that I printed in the office and laminated, and then I'll get the craft knife and roller to cut those out. So that's for a hokey home game. So, but you may start there because you got to practice and see if it all works. When you're testing your game. But I would say, look, if you're doing the first print run, you could do here in New Zealand if you're doing a test run. But then, if you're going to Kickstarter and you're trying to get global recognition, you're most likely printing offshore.
Yeah, it's just a cost factor because it just gets expensive. As I think it was $14 US to print a foil cover variant of a comic book. That's $14 US.
Oof.
And because when I was pricing a foil cover for a variant for our Incredi-Girl Kickstarter, I didn't factor in the fact that a single one cost that much. And if you then spot foiled it, right? So if you only did, this area here, that's actually again cost way more than if you did the whole freaking thing. It's crazy stuff that you learn.
I mean, foiling looks really good, and I know a lot of the Kickstarters will offer that as an add-on.
Yeah.
I mean, what you can do here is spot UV, and that is still expensive, but yeah. Beyond that, you could print. You could digitally print on a foil cardstock,
Right.
and you could do that here. And if you're doing a small run, it's only like you need 50 units.
Yeah.
You could probably do it and just suck up the cost.
Could you like do like we back to trading cards? Could you do like trading cards in foil in New Zealand?
Yeah, I wish I had the examples here. There was a print company. I don't even know if they're still open. This is going back 10 plus years. It was very similar. They sort of very similar to the franchise I had, but they would offer foiled cards and you could print on clear plastic. But they'd streamlined the model, and you could effectively get a really low cost foil or metallic business card, and then that's not hard to turn it into a trading card.
There was a local one here that did that for me, like this, like 20 years ago. It was a clear card, and then on the back of it, they would put my my clothing design, which is the label for my company now. Not the PS, but like the not Plunge Studios, but like the I think it's a double F one. So they print on the back of it, like mirror it. So like you'd have to paint on the back, but in the front would be like the actual beautiful clear, coat on it, so you wouldn't see it. But that was 20 years ago. So if you think about where we are in New Zealand now, whether if they still do it, it'll be so cool. And like all the stuff that you got with what with what Lynette's holding up with foil cards and stuff.
Looks
good. I mean, really, what talking about like first run and stuff. It's prototyping. Locally you can prototype anything you want. At least
actually
anything.
I'll just grab a sample.
Sure.
I mean, the reason why I asked the question was specifically around foil, like things like foil, because you as a layman, you look at those cards and you go, kind of like magic, how do you get sort of this sort of metallic, glittery sort of looking sort of thing into the card, and I wasn't sure if you could easily do that, or there was some sort of special machine in Portugal that you had to go through. You know what I mean? So that's cool. I mean, that's cool that that we have the capability to do it, Jason.
Yeah. So this is a chromium, right? Cover double thing cover to like this is actually plastic, right? Chromium sort of thing. This is from like the 90s, and this is I actually interviewed the artist on this past weekend, John Stinson. So are we able to do chromium as well as that? Oh, that's your Batman, right?
It's some old school.
That looks awesome.
I'm trying to see what
Batman.
That is Fleur 1995 Marvel.
Yeah.
For the X-Men cards, and that's Batman Forever.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think I've got a couple of those up there.
Yeah.
Are those what year is that? Are those ultra flares? Are they?
90s.
Yeah.
90s.
Dang, I think I got 96. That must be the year before I started collecting them.
This is
97's when X-Men Animated came out.
I prefer the fab foiling because I can read the cards, but that's the old school foiling.
Yeah, you got part foils like this.
Yeah, I prefer part foils. I can read the writing on them. I struggle with foil.
I wanted to ask Jason about Fun Time quickly, because he's got the stand in the back.
Nice.
I'm loving it. I wanted to ask you.
You asked the question, and I'm going to put them on full because we want to clip this for later.
But before that,
okay.
Yeah,
we'll put that for later. But I grabbed these before, so BD and D in Wellington.
Oh yes, I know them.
Yeah. So I mean, I get a lot of my role-playing games.
They're great.
Yeah.
Is that a store down there you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yes.
They have some brilliant dice.
So they do a lot of obviously Magic the Gathering But these are just little freebies they put when you buy a product. And look, there's no game. They're just fun and collectibles. So I hang on to them. So, but again, it's just laminated printed cards. So that's easy to do. And then for round corners, the cheap way is it's a wee press that stamps out the corners, or the slightly more expensive is die cut. So, and that's just standard printing process.
Gotcha. Okay, no, that makes sense. I mean, I wanted to, because I've got a couple of volumes of Fun Time on my bookshelf, and I wanted to sort of get a sense of, you know, really how it's put together. I mean, do people submit a bunch of, you know, their sort of short stories, and then you kind of judge them at that point, or how does sort of the collecting work, I guess?
So you know, you've got like the Wizard of Oz, you've got the mighty powerful Oz, just impressing everyone. Okay, so if we step behind the curtain, the real way it works is I have a digital file, and I get sent comics, and I place them into the digital file, and then move to the next page. So that's the screening process. So because I'm putting the file together. Fun Time always had an open door policy, so it was started as a zine by University of Canterbury students in 1991. So there were comic enthusiasts who loved reading, writing, drawing, and collecting comics. And so they would just combine whatever was submitted and print it. But it was just a black and white 5 underground grungy zine. Obviously, it's evolved over 30 plus years to now being a full color magazine.
I wish I kept my copies of zine. I had copies of zine.
Yeah. I don't have them all. I have some of the early ones. I first got involved in 2001 when I was a design student. So Fun Time runs as a monthly meetup, and that's like the lifeblood of the group. And putting a comic together was always just the byproduct of these people who meet up. So it's always been focused around community. The one thing I would say is, as the comics evolved into more of a color magazine, as soon as you go color, you start getting full color comic submissions. So you notice the standard and comics being submitted are of a higher caliber. But we also still have black and white. We have hand-drawn comics, which I'll still scan in and then manipulate in Photoshop to get the black and whites right and then place in the file. Or because so many artists now are working on iPads or their own computers, coloring, creating their comics, they give me those final polished, amazing artwork. And so it often, at that point, it often is just placing it directly in. In terms of an editorial policy, it's that loose. It's more of a if there was a question mark over the content, then at our local meetup we would just discuss that, and then that would just come down to suitability. Honestly, we've never really been in that situation. So apart from, one time I got a comic which was very much horror genre. And, we're creating an anthology we're trying to appeal to a wide catchment of readers. And we've also always tried to make it accessible to younger readers, but trying to work out where that line is, where you cross over, has always been tough. We sort of agreed that it was kind of a teenage, young adults upwards, because sometimes the themes and stuff and content are definitely not suitable for kids. In fact, we always put a disclaimer on the back. Some content, you will never see that, but it says there, some content not suitable for children. So we've been brainstorming a Fun Time Junior for years aimed at kids. that project's shelved because that suddenly throws a whole lot of other challenges. How do you get enough comics suitable for kids? And then what's the age group? Is
Right.
it 6 to 12? Is it 8 to 13 years old? So there's no hard rule. It's more about the way Funtime works is it is a platform to showcase New Zealand comic creators. And generally, yeah, it's a wide range of genres, stories, short form comics to long format. We get daily comic strips. You get some cartoons. So it's very eclectic. And what we've tried to do is we've tried to turn it into more of a magazine. So we'll have interviews with the artists. We'll always have a feature. We'll always have a feature interview with the cover artist. Then we might have an artist spotlight, one of the regular artists, writers. I say artists, but I mean writers as well. You know, some of these are co-written, they're written and drawn by the same creator. Then you get the ones where there's a team who has worked on it. We'll also promo other indie New Zealand comics like Shane Evans' Wastelands.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, so we've got 4 pages of that in the new Funtime that's going to Kickstarter. And, you know, that's like a bit of an advert to promote Shane's work. It's just about cross-pollinating. I mean, speaking of the new Funtime, there it is.
Ooh,
That's
nice.
a beautiful cover.
Yeah.
That's good balance.
Yeah, so our cover artist here is Maya Templar from Christchurch, illustrator, artist. She heads up like Christchurch Zine Fest. Very young, young artist. She's very passionate about creating. The thing about what's great about Maya's work as well, it's just, I mean, it's just so different. What I can say is I'll just go to her article.
Just
So, I mean,
that's it.
Wow.
So that's
Wow.
So that's the feature. Yeah. So you get a piece like that, which is very watercolory and hand drawn, then more digital art. I mean, it's hand drawn, but digitally colored.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we get a black and white
doing
short.
it, even though it's digital, right? It's not AI.
Okay, that's interesting because the reason I ask, I guess, you don't see what ends up on the cutting room floor, but if you're saying that sort of, it is that open, that's really cool.
Yeah, honestly, the main problem we get now is there's more comics than we can put in here. In fact, when Isaac Freeman, the previous editor, stepped down, he had a digital folder of comics that have never seen the light of day because there's just not enough pages in there available. He had made a project to try to digitally publish them all through our website, but that website's long mothballed, and it's just the problem with this is we're all doing it as for our love of comics.
Sure.
It's voluntary, and so then it comes down to you put a lot of work into it. And there's still another 1,000 hours of work that could be done to make this amazing, but we're doing this in our spare time. So, yeah.
So I've got a question from chat, and it's from Nugget. Ross, he goes, do you wait until you have enough stories to fill the book or print yearly, whether there's enough to fill it or not?
Sure. So generally Funtime has been yearly, and mainly because the amount of work it would take to put it together, in your spare time. We would launch it at Auckland Armageddon. It's New Zealand's largest geek event, so it's the best place to sell the new issue. And so it would take a year, and the content would just flow through. What happens is I have the digital files for like the next 3 or 4 issues. So when content comes through, I just slot it into the next issue. And then it will it becomes more of a design and layout practice of, do we need to mix the range of content up so it's more a different range of styles. So we pull things between issues. If it's a longer comic, I'll split it into 3, so it goes across 3 issues and then gets collected in an omnibus issue. So the other thing is with COVID, our production run got slowed down, and we also decided to do a pandemic special. So there was a whole lot of content that was sort of waiting to go into an issue, which got shelved while we did the pandemic special. So ever since then, there's always been a backlog.
I got a question.
Right.
Do you have a spare page?
Honestly, this issue 35 that's going to Kickstarter is the digital file is so close to being locked down. It is so close to being finished that there's maybe a couple of holes here and there. But there is a spare. There is a spare.
The reason I asked is because I would love to chuck this in there because we haven't chucked it anywhere. It'd be cool to have it start out in a New Zealand comic book, right, into a New Zealand place. And this is the three panel stories.
So what I can tell you is that's a comic strip, and I'm always looking for more comic strips. And the one page that's not full is because there is space right there for a couple of comic strips.
Cool. It was meant to be, eh? Look at that.
Yeah. I'll send you some down. This is like a political satire. Grizzly bear, like the main guy's PJ. He's a grizzly bear from Canada. I mean, from America. Canada? No. Yeah. Grizzlies are in America, right? And then you got polar bears in Canada. So he's a polar bear married to he's a grizzly bear married to a polar bear who's now come to New Zealand and lives in New Zealand. And here's the thing. So Michael Mead, a friend of ours, right? He's one of the writers on an upcoming one that has been published. So, and it's a very Kiwi stuff. It's like Day at the Beach barbecue. So I will put that one in. It hasn't even seen the light of day yet, but the art's done and everything has been sitting there. And so rather than showing people what's already there for free, that's been out there for a while, I'll pop that in if you've got space for it.
Yeah, sure.
Fun time exclusive. I like
it.
Absolutely.
It's not even, the thing here is it's not written by me, right? So you get something written by another artist, another writer, and who's actually putting his voice to our characters that I've created. And that's kind of a bit more, I think for me, that's a bit more interesting coming into Fun Time.
Nice.
Yeah, I think that'll be really cool because nobody's seen it and it's his work, and working with Konstantinos, who actually spoke to this week, and he's over in Estonia, Greek artist living in Estonia. So yeah, cool man.
And so, well, I'll just answer that. So yes, Fun Time mainly features Kiwi creators. However, the anthology has always had guest artists from overseas, because there was always somebody overseas who took interest in the anthology and would, back in those days, they would snail mail their comics over here. So yeah, sure.
Awesome. Yeah.
How much? I mean, how? Sorry, you go, Aaron. Yeah.
No, you go.
I was just going to ask. I mean, anthologies have always been sort of a so not a, I don't want to say a testing ground because that doesn't do the book justice, but it's always been, anthologies have always been an area where you can sort of test an idea or a snippet of a longer form sort of story. I mean, how many stories do you get that are sort of, part of a longer story, or sort of, someone testing something out that they're going to sort of make a bigger project of? How much is it all sort of purpose built, sort of, a four-page story, or there are people sort of like sort of Shane Evans sort of things where there's 4 pages of a bigger story? I mean, how prolific is that?
No, good question. Look, so 90% of the comics, they're not purposely created for Fun Time. Some are, because that's the artist's regular outlet. Other times, the artist creator has already released these online as a webcomic. So now we'll reprint. Years ago, Fun Time had I'm pretty sure it had a policy that they wouldn't reprint. But as webcomics became more popular, it made sense to give them a second life in print. And plus, where else are you going to get your comic printed? There are a couple other great Kiwi anthologies, which is amazing to see those coming up, or they've been going for a while. Bristle from Brent Willis in Wellington, and Battle Mag from Dunedin. But aside from that, I think we're the only colour anthology as well. So anyway, the long format. One occasion I got given 100 pages, and then it's like, okay, so how am I going to put that into a mag? In one of the earlier issues, I ran a selection of pages, 2 side by side on a like A5, was slightly smaller than A5 on one page. And then in the omnibus, I was like, you know what? I've still got a stack of pages which are never going to get printed. So I put 4 on a page, which you can barely read unless you got good eyesight. But it was like, I've got the comics, and it's going. That honestly, I should reach out to that guy. That was Matt Graham. I haven't heard from him for years, but his comic would have been great as a self-published graphic novel. The other time is we ran some pages from The Spanish Lady in Tales from Pandemia, because as the story goes, and I love telling this story, I was putting together a digital file for Tales from Pandemia. I reached out to Arthur Whelan in Auckland, and he's a regular contributor, and I was like, hey Arthur, do you have any comics on the pandemic that you may have created? And he said, no, but I do have a 175-page graphic novel on the Spanish influenza that's already completed and that I published digitally, but has never been printed. So I was like, Arthur, first of all, I said your comic deserves to be in print, and with him, we self-published it as a graphic novel. But more importantly, for fun time, well, that was important to bring his comic to life in printed format. But we ran a selection of pages in our Tales from Pandemia, along with a guest artist article. Look, if anyone creates 175 pages of hand-drawn, hand ink, and hand watercolored comic art, I mean, they deserve to be featured and printed. So it's like, yeah. I love that, because Arthur is the sweetest guy, and I love talking with him. And he just, that's his outlet. He taught himself, I think he taught himself to draw quite late in life.
Yeah.
And he works for a newspaper, and obviously this is what he does in his breaks and at cafes. And he engages young people at Armageddon's. They come up to him and he'll be talking to them for hours. He just wants to inspire them to draw and tell stories. And one more thing, Shane Evans. So that's another example where he's self-publishing a series of books. Yeah. So we're taking the opportunity to be able to feature that as a featurette, which helps to cross promote. So a couple examples there. Otherwise,
nice.
One last one, and this is an example where I'll get a comic and we'll divide it over 3 issues. So the next 3 issues, 35, 36, 37, like I say, I have the digital file, was already in the works. There's a comic in there, it's about 30 pages, so I've split it over the 3 issues, because it would be too large to put in one of those alone. But then when the omnibus comes out eventually, they will be collected together. So the omnibus is great in that way, because that's a way where you can finally get it in one place. Yeah.
Well, the other thing is, like, nobody who's doing a story, even if it's short or long, is doing a cheap on it. Like, you know, just because it's short doesn't mean it's like you put less effort in it. I think you're putting more effort in it because it is short. You know, because you're telling a short story really quick, and so you want it to be as impact. So you want to make it look as good as it can. It might look like it's been rushed because of the art style, and it's like, no, it's just as important, because everything that's on that page matters in that, in that panel. Like, I mean, I've just started doing anthology series, which is going to be collected as a trade paperback later on, which is probably about 120 pages or something. But none of those stories I put in there is like, because the first one's got 2 short stories. I didn't think of them any lesser than any of the other full 90-page stories I'm doing, because
no, not at all.
It's got like, sometimes people think that if you're doing a smaller story, it's like, it's not as much important, but really, man, like the effort, because whoever's doing the artist, if I'm doing myself, then I'm going to put just as much effort in. But I mean,
sure,
it's just a way. It's like sometimes it's actually harder to do smaller stories than a longer story. And I did that with even with Michael when he's writing for the PJ and Chibi. Even though it's 3 friggin' panels, you had to think so much harder to tell a story in 3 panels, and how each little panel is going to sit that the people can talk in. So let me just chuck that up for on the higher thing. So tell us a bit about this story, dude.
Zombie Jesus. Yeah, Zombie Jesus. I mean,
is it like text list?
It's a text list comic, and I'll let the artwork, speak for itself. Yeah. So this is Tom Williamson, Christchurch. It's a 4-page text list comic. Born again. So, but it's Zombie Jesus. So
after 3 days, third day, rising again.
Maybe 4 or 5. Yeah, and then I mean, there's Shane's. So there's Shane's comic.
Is that from issue 2 or 3?
No, that's issue 1, I believe. And then we got to
the. That's pretty cool. I mean, the fact that you printed it, it's all done within New Zealand. That's really cool.
Yeah. So
I can't wait for it to be in a graphic novel, and we can probably do a Kickstarter and make it really, because he does a lot of he's an artist himself, so you can imagine his work in foil, right? His, all that stuff, and it's just, and it'll kick off really well. And the fact that he's building it up over 4 issues, like it's supposed to be 3, now it's 4, but I mean, that sort of also, like when we talk about marketing, like we're doing in our chat, like, he's like building up an audience by the time he gets to issue 4. Those who missed on issue 1 and 2, because those are all sold out, right? Issues like, because they're small run prints, right? How much did you guys print out for each one?
It was only 100 of each run,
right?
Yeah.
So that's 100 issues being printed out. But if you think about it, that's self-published. I mean, paid for and all that. But then suddenly people pick up number 3. And they go, where the hell's the 1, 2, and 1? And you go, just hold on. We'll get to the trade, or we'll do we'll take it to Kickstarter and do reissue, right? So that's my thing for it. It's like, take it to Kickstarter, do a trade at number, when 4's out, and then do 1, 2, 3, 4, and then do like all the actual different colors. Because the great thing about Kickstarter is where people go for specialist comic covers and items and posters and trading cards. Those things that you won't get on like at your store, or you won't get on Amazon, because these are just direct to customer. And I think building up like audience this way is amazing, because you don't know who wants to back it around the world, because it could pop off when people realize that this is someone who's actually gone out there, put his money where his mouth is, right? And where his art is, I should say, money where his art is, and has published it, and now it's all out. Now he's taking it to Kickstarter, right? Because he's already got 100 followers or so on over there, plus whoever else is being able to read it.
Yeah, no, and I've talked with Shane. I would love, once he's completed it, it would be great to bring it together as a graphic novel. So a sneak peek. This is the first time that this is going out to anyone other than our Funtime Patreons and some of our cover artists. So issue 35 is obviously going to Kickstarter very shortly. And I'll do a bit of a promo focus on that shortly. But for issue 36, speaking of the amazing Shane Evans, look at that.
the robot. Yeah.
Oh,
so,
nice.
like, as much as I want, 35 is lovely, and it's a very abstract cover. That's what's cool. Like, our covers are always so different, and then we get this beautiful piece of comic art for the next issue after that. If the
I wanna-
Kickstarter works out well, then hopefully that will be September, October on Kickstarter.
Nice.
Excellent.
I'm just trying to find the Sunspot magazine his art's actually in, because we actually put it out. Like, did he give you the robot story? Is that what you're printing in there, or is it
So the robot story is in there, and so originally there was another cover artist, but she got delayed with finishing hers. So we just pushed her cover to the next issue, after 37. I've got covers through to at least 39 at the moment. And it was just in conversation with Shane, because we're already working on publishing his comic. I was like, hey, do you want to draw a cover? So within about 2 weeks, he returned completed artwork. I think it's the fastest any cover artist has given me a cover. And then as soon as I've got that, I can put it into the file and I can do the graphics. And honestly, we always pull the color palette. You'll see it. We always pull the color palette from the cover. And then that just brings a digital file together. It just knits it together.
So in 2019, we put out a magazine called Sunspot, and this is the content pages of that. And so we had that in there, but this is digital. So I love the fact that it's in print now, and we get to see the beautiful colors of his work in print. Kind of like, you know, like you can see it here, right? It's supposed to be on page 4 right at the start. And I felt just so bummed out because of COVID, right? And I had to pull it off, and I was like, and now, so what we've done now is kind of like the magazine itself. It's $2.99 if you want to buy it off of Rising Sun Comics. But this showcases, I don't know if you're in this one. I know that Adrian's in this one. So in the, you hear about New Zealand creators. You actually see, where are we? We got interview with actual. I think Artist Corner is actually Shane in here. And then you've got, the Robo Hut there, and then you got Verena, who's a translator of 40K, and some other stuff. But I mean, Adrian, where is Adrian? So we got an Adrian story in here. So I'll put a link up so you guys can.
That's right. They're celebrating page 11, celebrating New Zealand comic community. Adrian Kennard.
Well, did I miss it? Yeah. So let me see. There we go, right there. Yeah. So we got Ayla, who's a journalist, basically interviewed him and was like so cool, and like, I'll put that in the link so you guys can check that out. Check out Adrian's interview. Adrian's going to be here in the future because there's like an anniversary coming up for Earth's End, and I'm quite excited about that, and it's going to be awesome.
24. He released it 2013, I thought.
Yeah, it would have been sometime around then. Yeah.
My first Auckland Armageddon, I went first time I met Adrian and the whole crew. Adrian, Kelly, Sheehan, Damon King, who was doing Faction Comics at the time, which inspired the revival of Fun Time. So Damon King, you're amazing. Adrian had just published Earth's End. He may have only had I wonder if it was just he would tell the story, but I wonder if I can't remember if we were selling them or whether it was just the editor's copy, like the author's copy. Yeah.
Which one are you talking about? Which book did he put out?
From Earth's End.
Right.
The actual book, Earth's End. Right.
That's what I was thinking. What are we talking about?
I was thinking about the company Earth's End.
Oh yeah. So the company came a couple of years later. There he goes.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Nice. Yeah. It's like that 1001 comics you should read before you die. This is New Zealand's version of knowing who your New Zealand creators are before you die. And one day I hope to be in this as well as in the other one as well.
Oh, there'll be version 2.
Yeah, it was so cool to be part of this.
I don't want to curse Adrian by saying it volume 2, but it'd be great if you can get him on.
He did a lot of work in this, dude. Hunting, researching. It is a beast. I mean, like, I've sold about 2 issues of this. I think when I had my shop, because I was like, look, this, you gotta have this freaking book if you're into comics, the whole zine thing. What was it, like about $50 or something? And it's well worth. at that
you can
time.
find the occasional copy at a comic store or on Trade Me. I'm fairly sure I got my one off Trade Me.
And I got
What-
this from actual Adrian, like at the Armageddon. So it must have been 2013. Or was it 2014? No, it's 2014. It's 2014 because it's 2024 this year. So it's 2014, 10 years, right?
Yeah, that's why I think he may have just. Well, it says first published 2013. I just can't remember if we were selling it on the stand or whether it was just the author's copy he was showing. But still, either way, you can spin it out.
Yeah, so I mean,
Technically, this is the period of 365 days. That is the 10th anniversary. So there you go.
yeah.
The approximate anniversary.
So just a wee story about this that came up earlier today about Moa when you were discussing it on Messenger.
Right.
Because I've been involved, helping with run the New Zealand Comic Creators stand, and we'll always have a shop in the box. So that's a box of New Zealand comics which gets shipped around the country.
Yeah.
Often, and we'll be selling these, and there'll be a box of these sitting in my room. But usually, what happens is I end up failing to actually buy one for myself, and then they'll all sell out, and I'll be like, "Oh, I never got one," which is why I tracked that down off Trade Me. And then Moa, I found it at Pop Stop, and because obviously I go to Pop Stop in Christchurch, and they had a copy of Moa, so bought it. Good business cost. Don't tell the accountant.
Yeah, that was gonna be. We're still sort of working out the format of the show. I think we were sort of a couple episodes back. We're like, oh, let's sort of spotlight one artist, but yeah. So we're gonna do more today, but it sort of fell through a little bit. We'll save it for another episode.
We can do someone today because I have something here, a stack of something here that I'm gonna put Adrian on, and then I'll just showcase an article that we did, and then I'll bring up beyond something. It's not beyond the ledge, but it's beyond something. Do you remember what it is, Jason?
What are we talking about? You mean me? Beyond.
No, the Warden?
Oh, Beyond Reality Media.
Yeah. So I have a stack of their comics.
Sorry, yeah.
And the reason I thought I'd bring this up is because, well, I actually kind of called out, maybe not called out, Bill this week on Facebook because I saw Niagara Falls. Is that Niagara Falls? Is that like in Canada or is that in Africa?
It's in the border of Canada and
America.
Right. So
you're thinking of
Simon
the
Beasley, right?
Yeah.
Simon Beasley is actually at a event there. And I was like, wouldn't it be cool to have Simon Beasley in New Zealand? And how good it would be for all us 80s kids to be able to take all our friggin' horn gods, all our 2000 ADs, and all our awesome sort of like, all our comics. And like I could, I'd rock up and go, hey, all we need to see is Simon this year. Nobody else. Don't bring anybody else. Just Simon will be enough, right? Cost-wise, if it costs too much. Because it'll be cool to have Simon Beasley, who's worked, who last week, as we talked about, Martin Emons worked with them on Lobo, worked with Pat Mills on Lobo, sorry, and then, worked at 2000 AD with the art-wise and stuff like that, and did covers for an interior art with Simon Beasley. Wouldn't it be awesome, like, to be able to have Simon here? Because all of us kids who grew up on 2000 AD, in our 40s and 50s, or even earlier, right? 70s. Yeah, it'll be so cool. So as you can see there, we've got Beyond Reality. That's part of you can read about it in that magazine if you're keen to check it out. But like, what did I miss? I missed the wrong one. So you can see in that one we had some of the art of Shane, right? Art of Evans on Facebook, on Instagram as well.
Yes.
So there was a review that Ayla did, and she read the the inspirational Duncans, because I gave it to her and I said, hey, check this out and do a review of that. So we were doing a whole bunch of stuff with this magazine and looking at it yearly. But the idea was that we'd have complete stories, right? Complete shorts and stuff like that. So talking about the fantastic Duncans, I hope it's here, or has she still got it? No, it might be up there somewhere still. But does because I don't know, because I haven't been to Armageddon recently, right?
Yep.
Recent years, because just like last 5 years I've been busy as. Can you tell us, are they still putting these out there, Jason? Are they still selling these, or are they out of print?
I'm
with the water and stuff.
Yeah, so it's funny because for a couple of years, as part of the New Zealand Comics Creators stand, we were right next to Bill's, and it was easy to like keep up with what he was selling. I believe 2019, 2020, 21, they were just selling off old stock. I'm pretty sure he's come out with a sequel for the Time Traveler. What is it?
Yep.
There's a sequel for that.
Yeah.
You know the traveling tourists. You know the classic thing about Armageddon is when you're on a stand, you spend all the time in the stand, and you might get around some stalls, but there's a whole bunch of other ones you never get to. So, I'm not sure.
Did you?
I remember being on a table in the artist alley like one year and going, "This will be great. I can spend all my time at Armageddon," and then I never left the table, and it was like, "This is actually kind of hellish. Actually, I don't like this," So
Artist alley is worse for that because you're representing yourself. So when you're not on the table, then at least you've got some friends.
You need a buddy. Yeah, you need a buddy system.
I mean, and because of the cost, they'll I see a lot of them they'll pay 50-50 for the artist alley. So then there'll be like two creators who can back each other up.
I think Jason, you were talking about this in the previous time that you were on the podcast, but you what's sort of the response to New Zealand comics sort of at Armageddon?
Yeah.
That's not a great sign, but I mean, talk us through that. I mean, where's sort of I sort of wonder sometimes how the scene is with the greater public and what the scene could do to sort of, get out there a little bit more. Sometimes it seems it's a little insular. Yeah. I mean, but things like Fun Time Comics and more. I mean, you look at Moa. I don't know how it's not a morning cartoon or something.
No, Moa's amazing.
It's so marketable. You just sort of go, well, how has this not gotten picked up? You know what I mean? So I talk a little bit about sort of what the experience with the stand at Armageddon is like. What's the sort of the public's reaction, and maybe what we could do to sort of grow the scene a little bit more, I guess.
I'll just see if I have it here. So, like last Auckland, I can't get my hands on it right now, but I got stock from Mark Abnett, this land, and I mean that sold really well. Yeah. And so when I say really well, you have everything has to be considered.
Freaking scholastics.
Yeah, but everything's going to be considered in comparison to what? So if I say a lot, I mean, well, if you sell 10 of one comic at Armageddon, you've done exceptionally well. So I had 10 copies of Volume 1 and Volume 2 of this land. Volume 1 sold out. And then we sold less of Volume 2 because some people will be like, oh yeah, I'll grab both. Others will be like, I'll try book 1, then I might get book 2.
So you kind of like have to almost like double book 1.
So that was and because it's a beautiful publication, it was relatively priced, I think $25. It's collected together, reprinted by Scholastic, so it looks good. Scholastic label can't hurt, I'm sure, but also I mean, it's comic. It's New Zealand knows
friggin' Scholastics.
It's
it's like having a friggin' Marvel label on a friggin' superhero book, right?
But also, it's a great work because it's as Mark says, it's X-Men crossed over with Moana. So you got
Right.
Māori myths and legends brought to life as these superhero figures in this post-apocalyptic world. So that's so anyhow. You've got to do it for the love of it because otherwise you get depressed.
It'll break your heart. Like there's so much fighting going on in the American market right now in the indies. Like it's just crazy watching. Like and here's the thing. In New Zealand, we're used to knocking down people who stick their head up, and we're slowly getting away from that. But it's still there.
Cultural,
and it's just such a terrible thing. In a sense, it's like keeps us humble, but it's also terrible when you're trying to make it, and when you're trying to make it, people look at you like you're sticking your head up, and therefore you should be knocked down and humbled, and it just seems stupid. Like you look at Mark, and he's like had to go over there, right? And then like now he's like named kind of thing. It's like, whereas like I'm hoping that like we get over that, especially in New Zealand comics, that we just go, let's go. Let's go. Let's get you all out there, and I think that's something that the Aussies have basically got into my head, is that, like the fact that they actually have a group where they actually promote each other, and that's what made me come and think about doing all this. And when we came into this, it was like let's get out there, because at the end of the day, we're Kiwis, we're not Aussies. And it's us. We want them to buy our comics, or we don't want them to buy American comics. We want to buy Kiwi comics, my friend's comic and your friend's comic and stuff like that.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I think, comics is just a challenging market because we're 2024. Comics as a whole has been a declining industry. We're selling indie comics, so you're asking people to support indie comics, properties they don't know. So who buys that? Well, it's usually a lot of creatives, the comic creatives, but they're going to be creatives, whether in film, designers, artists, illustrators, storytellers, writers who love the visual medium. Sometimes it feels like you're just selling to your own people, but then I suppose it also makes
like
sense.
70% of it's selling to your own people, and that's the weirdest thing. It's like, how do we get it past that 70%? And that's why I think with Mark getting into Scholastic, it's past that 70%. Now it's kind of like 70-30, right? Where it's 30% selling to your friends, and
But Mark had the right product. Mark had the right product as well. So, end of day, Fun Times, and it's a grassroots anthology. There's quality comics and stories and art in there. And it's about encouraging the up and coming as well. And it's about providing an outlet and a platform for them to be able to get their comics printed, because when can you do that?
That's the thing I love about Fun Time, is that it's there. Here's the thing. If it's on your computer, if it's on your phone, it's not real to me. It really isn't, right?
Yeah.
Once it's in here, I can hold it, I can touch it, I can pass it, I can put it on my shelf, I can take off my shelf, show it to my friends, show up here. That's real, and that's sort of,
and to be fair, when we run the Kickstarter, we'll have a digital option. And we're going to use it as an opportunity for people to buy the digital back catalog. So I back a lot of Kickstarters. It's probably like 80% RPGs. There's more as the shelves go. It's not just D&D. In fact, I wish I had my other stuff there, so I was promoting non-D&D RPGs, because that's my other passion. But also, I will get a lot of digital stuff. But usually, I love the physical medium. I love being able to just flick through. But when you are backing a lot of Kickstarters, often it will be, well, in terms of a budget, look, I can't quite afford the physical, plus shipping's another $30 or $40. So at least I can get the PDF.
Well, I mean,
I think that's a generational thing. You know, I remember going to like Aunt Sang was holding a comic course on that art studio on K Road, and the people that went were, you know, it was like, you know, as diverse as the census. You know, you had old ladies there, you know, you had students and what have you, and you know, the older generation were going, well, you know, I want to smell it, I want to hold it, I want to be able to look at it, what have you. And then all the young ones were like, oh, I can't be dealing with that. I just have it on my tablet, you know?
Yeah.
So that's sort of it's generational, you know.
Yeah.
It is sort of changing. You know?
there is that, but I mean, like, there is also the cost factor, like, that we think about. Like, it costs about $30 New Zealand to get a single comic out of the US, right? So for us, like, you know, having that option, and I will always, and I agree with you, I should have mentioned, you know, that we always have it ourselves. PDFs, like, digital is always there for people who are worried about that option. Like, I've backed about 3 Kickstarters this month alone that are PDFs, because I'm still giving, you know, supporting, but I get to read it, right? And
Sure.
but I mean, like, when you really tally it up, the physicals make you more money like, not more make you more money. It actually covers enough cost to go around, because you got a lot of artists and printing costs and stuff like that, and shipping. But I mean, the other thing about I find that's cool about digital is the same reason I just said wasn't cool about it, is that I can walk around with on my phone. You know,
Yeah.
I can read it wherever I want. I was trying to read a book when I was waiting for taxi today. You know, but then I got caught up in something else, and I put it aside. But there is, so you got to balance it up, and I think that whether you
The other thing as well, I mean, you know, just going back to the Martin Eamon thing, you know, I was looking at a. So I'm getting a bit of lag here. So
yeah. So what else? Yeah. So what else should I say? Like,
sorry. I got a bit of lag there. I thought you'd finish the sentence. Sorry.
Yeah. So what I was trying to say was, like, it can be like the new generation wants all about phone and digital and stuff, and then the old generation is I want to touch and stuff. But there is also a balance where you know, it's like, well, do you think does it look real to you when it's on paper, right? Or does it look real to you when it's digital? Sure, you can carry it around, but if somebody wants to buy it, you know, and give it to somebody, do you just pass it on with digital? You know, there's an option when it comes to, like, the on selling of something. So, like, this thing here, right? I was just showed you before of this, right? So I bought this off from Trade Me, right, for maybe about $40 or $20. It came out of America in the 90s. Now here I'm in 2022, and I have a physical copy of it. And then I got this weekend, like I was saying, I got to, like, on Sunday past, I got to interview the artist who actually drew this, right? Yeah. John Stinson. And so I could go, here's on my phone, John. Or I had it read on phone, but look, this has sold, it's touched so many hands, so many people have enjoyed it, and now it's in my hand, and I can think it. And I think, you know, it's like there's also the fact that if it's digital, will always stay the same price almost, right? There's no value to it afterwards. There's no after value. Whereas this went from about $5 or $3 in the US in 1990s to now $20 or $30 New Zealand, right?
Yeah. Well, now you're talking about collectibles, and obviously a lot of us are into collectibles, but it depends whether you're buying it to be able to read it, or buying it to read it and it's a collectible as well.
It's both. It's all three, you know.
Right.
Like, reading it, collecting it, investing it, reading and collecting, fan of it, plus, you know.
I can actually weigh in a little bit here. I have a little story about my uncle and his comic book collection, right? He had this Phantom comic book collection, and it was always up on a shelf where I was not allowed to touch it. And it was the most wonderful day when I was about 8 years old, where I was allowed to touch one of those comic books and see and feel it. And I never forget the first time I got to actually have a look at those comic books. I'd been at the library and those ones weren't in the condition that his were, you know, and you could see the love for those comics, right? I did have to wash my hands before I even touched it, but you know, I think that's one thing you don't get from a digital copy. That thrill of opening and seeing all those pages for the first time. But I am very much just dipping my toe into the comic book world. I very much feel a little bit of an outsider in this chat, but I can understand the feel and the love of reading books. I had no idea that zine was the start for that. The book that I got when I was in my school years. I'm feeling I inadvertently have been a part of the community without knowing.
But you've also been dragged into the comic scene with Plunge, right? You actually got to play the character Incredi-Girl. You know, I've got a poster up here somewhere around, you know, and it's like, you know, and not only that, you got to help me design the costume that looked cool on her, you know, and now
cosplay is orbiting the same sort of nerd sun that comics does too, you know. So you're there somewhere. I mean that's interesting because we're not. Yeah, sorry, you go, Lynette.
It brought back memories for me, and I'm so pleased. I'm gonna have to look up Fun Time and have a good gander, and hopefully
it's a beautiful book. Every year I go with my extended family to Rotoiti. We stay at a lake house. You know, we don't own it. We rent it, and there's this old dusty sleep house at the back, and there are these old sort of bear crates that are full of Phantom comic books that, if they were in good condition, would be worth, you know, a pretty penny now. But you know, they're all dusty, and you know, obviously kids have been kicking and punching them and stuff, you know. So it's just every time I go back there, I just sort of, you know, my hair sort of goes white a little bit. Look at these old comics. You know. But,
so I'm probably gonna finish up because I said to my wife half an hour on podcast.
Fair enough.
But I mean, I know I got to talk about the Kickstarter, but
we're going to do a clip with you full, and we're going to give you like about 5 minutes to do this, and then
plug.
Now is the time.
Plug it, and then I'm going to clip it for you, and I'm going to send it to you. So you know,
so no pressure not to stumble.
Let me find our Kickstarter first. Let me get there.
So
you get one cut. No,
I'm going to hold this up, and I'm going to be like, "Hey, look at the high-tech technology. Get your phone out and take a photo. Scan this QR code. Go on, I do you."
All right. So here's what we're going to do.
Got you.
I'm going to keep myself on. I'm going to take because I can talk to you. I'm going to take. And then I'm going to take myself off, and I'm going to like if you watch downstairs on the bottom, you'll see some, you know, me holding my hand up and going like this.
Yeah, so, you can probably once I get starting. Oh, that's cool. That's cool actually. Yeah, that's nice. Oh wow, look at that! Hey, wow. Okay, so Funtime Comics. Funtime Comics, New Zealand's longest running comic anthology. Longest running printed comic book by far. That's some of the accolades that we wear. Why should you care? Well, Funtime is a grassroots indie comic anthology full of a range of eclectic short form comics, comic strips to longer form stories that are from a range of New Zealand comic artists and writers with some international guest stars. We feature deep dive interviews with the cover artist and with some of our other artists and writers, and we love to spotlight other indie New Zealand comics. So it's really just a real grassroots hub for discovering local comic content that's coming out of the country. So with our latest issue 35, we've decided to go to Kickstarter. So even though we've been running for like over 30 years, and this is our last lovely issue, last 2 issues, you can get our omnibuses as well, which will be on the Kickstarter. The reason we've decided to go to Kickstarter is, look, it's where the industry has already gone for indie comic creators, and it makes sense to connect with our audience on there and get support from our followers to make this viable, because Funtime Comics is all voluntary, and so there's a lot of time that goes into it, and it takes a long time to get the money together to be able to print the next issue. So by you supporting Funtime Comics on Kickstarter, you will get obviously a printed copy sent to you, plus our back issues if you're after that, and it's a great way to support local artists and writers while reading some fun comics and cartoons. This amazing cover is by Maya Templar from Christchurch, illustrator, runs Zine Fest in Christchurch. She's our feature artist. So there's obviously we get to talk with Maya to see how she ticks and why she loves comics and drawing, and then obviously a few features from her before we go into Cactus Girl by Maya. Cactus Cat, sorry, not girl. And articles. So a few articles on New Zealand comics. Rufus Marigold, written by Sean Guerrea, one of our artists. And that's an advert. There's not too many adverts, but when we do, it's only because we're just trying to tell you about other amazing Kiwi comics. Amazing art from Brendan Wright in Christchurch, who is like the editor of The 77, a UK-based 20 AD magazine that pays homage to the whole style and love for the 2000 AD comics. We have comics from Simon, of course, Fletcher, who was our cover artist for the previous issue, completing his story arc of Real Dreams. The Legend of Garius, cool. You enjoy that one. It's quirky. A great comic that focuses on environmentalism and the need to protect our wildlife, but in a bit of a slightly macabre way. But I'll let you decide that. You can see a bit of blood. Who knew pangolins were so violent? The classic Jam comic. And this is a stalwart of the Funtime workshop. When we meet up once a month, we start a Chinese whispers type. Chinese whispers is like a musician's jamming, but we do it on paper. One person starts a panel and then the next person continues. And the idea is to try to get a storyline, sometimes successful, other times very interesting outcomes. Comics by Arthur Whelan, great artist from New Zealand, working in watercolor and ink. This is Graffiti Panda. Need I say more? It's a bit of a whimsical, humorous tale about a panda who can't help but graffiti. He's not meaning to, deface property. That page isn't complete, so we're just searching for more comic strips, which we've been promised to fill the page. Bob Gibbons out of Christchurch has been part of Funtime for over 30 years. An amazing comic here, more of a journal comic story by a British artist, Melanie Davies, who was living in Christchurch and came to like a couple of our workshops, but unfortunately had to return to the UK. Very talented. So we featured her in our last issue, and would love to obviously see her coming back in future issues. So again, very eclectic range of comics, black and white. Tony Scanlon, again, a stalwart foundation member of Funtime. Born Again, it's Zombies, Jesus, need I say more? So that's just a bit of a taste of what's in the latest Funtime comics. I'm just going to rattle off some names because without the creators, we don't have a comic anthology. And it's a great way, if you know them, to really support your friends who love drawing and writing stories and communicating. So Maya Templar, of course, our cover artist, Melanie Davies, who I mentioned, Ryan Scott. We've got some great Slackman comic shorts in this issue. Simon Fletcher, again, completing Real Dreams, which has been told over a number of issues. Marie Charlotte Dern from Wellington with great comic strips and future cover artist. Bob Gibbons, Jay Skelton, Aaron Christensen with some more Beats the Kangaroo, Tony Scanlon, Karen Phelps, Matt Kelly, Tom Williamson. Actually, you know what? This is all the artists from the last issue. I think we need to do some updates. Matt Kelly was in the last one. Hey, Matt, if you're watching this, send me a comic. Richard Klingon, Arthur Whelan, Sean Garea, Nick Scarr, Jared Lane, Mark Barnes, Kiwi artist living in Germany. That's what's behind Kickstarter. Follow that link that's on this video. If you got your phone out, scan that QR code, and that will take you to our pre-launch page where you can follow the Kickstarter. And we will see you when we launch. So thank you for your support of New Zealand comics. Back to you, Arun. Arun? Sorry, not Arun. Are you Arun? Are you Arun? I don't know, actually. Sometimes
I'll give you a clap when I wake up my children.
ARU. The weird thing is, like it can be pronounced as Arun, right? It's actually a name and like a shortened actual name, Arun. And like I've had friends call me Aaron. I don't mind. As long as that ARU is in there, it's fine. Yeah. But yeah, cool, man. That was really good. And I will clip that and I will send that to you and we'll share it on our own page and stuff. It's really well done. And make sure you stick that on your Kickstarter as well, because that's pretty cool.
Well, that's been one of the challenging things. There's a lot of work to put a Kickstarter together, and everyone recommends you have a video, and it's like the amount of work to actually create a motion graphics video. That's a lot of time and effort, and I don't have that. I don't have that to spare. So
there was someone watching right there, right now, and I'm looking at you, Ross. That could be something you could provide to the indie comics community in New Zealand. That we could, I don't know, let us know, because that's something we all need, to be honest, because, it brings a bit of excitement to the element where there's moving, there's talking, but look, there's nothing better than having, people saying this is what we're doing. And I think that was a great cut, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other
there we go. He's right on cue.
I just want to say, Aru, just honestly, Aru, thank you for what you're doing, because you're taking your time to put your neck out there. And like you say, Kiwis love to pull down and criticize others who are actually proactively doing something. So good on you. And thank you for creating a platform, because this is hard and it's tough. And again, they're doing some great stuff in Australia and comics to movie YouTube and comic publisher. So seeing you sort of put your hand up to make this happen.
Well, I mean, it was Aussies that basically said, "Hey, I see you're doing Kickstarter. And like, hey, have you thought about this? Have you thought about this? Have you thought about this?" I'm like, I could get somebody else to do it, and then I was like, "Oh, I have some time. Let's do it." So well, also, like, the behind the veil, the reason I actually got this microphone, which isn't as expensive as it looks. No, it's just
first time actually using it.
Yeah.
But I've been slowly getting all the right stuff, and I'm actually using my iPhone as the camera, so it actually all works really well. Yeah,
it's all about the light. It's always about the light. You got to have lots of light. You got to be really lit up. It's
also because it's got really dark outside, and I don't have that natural light anymore.
So the thing about cameras is that, because I did 3 years of camera work, right? The thing about cameras is the iris. If you don't give enough light, whatever you go to edit later is crap, no matter what you do. So if it's really well lit, it won't get pixelated, and it won't like come shadowy and stuff like that. So the way you've got it, like if you look at your face, right, it's like right up here. If I put you on solo, see how clear that is?
Yeah, because I mean, there's a shadow, but I quite like.
No, but that's supposed to be there because if you're flat, you won't. It'll be like flat. It won't look real.
That's it.
So you got to have shadows. So the way you've set it up is really good. But
the
like,
other thing is, so sorry, and I just want to, from what you're doing here. So I was during 2021, 2022, I was part of a international study group. We were all doing brand strategy and part of the same training course. And our facilitator who was taking it, you know, because I would start talking about comics and role-playing games, and he was like, Jace, why don't you get on YouTube and start a channel, and that's a way to promote it. You know, only problem was it was like, oh, there's another thing I need to do. But part of getting this set up was that eventually I would get to that point, and what I thought I would do is I could start by interviewing the Funtime creators who are in our issues, and then pop those on YouTube. Yeah, and then just build that up. And my other secret thing is I'm so desperate to start a role-playing game YouTube channel. So, you know.
That sounds fun.
I got to come back. I just need to find the time aside from running a business as well and trying to make a living.
Well, that's what it really comes down to, right? It's time. Like, you know, like there's only two things I do now because I've stopped, you know, I've taken a year off from convention, is this and writing and meetings. This, writing, meetings. That's all I do every day, almost every week, right? Like this morning I had like a 2-hour meeting. A couple of days ago I had a 3-hour meeting. A couple of days before that I had a 3-hour meeting, and it's all overseas. So my body's all over, you know, but like this is important. I find that our Friday night shows are important because it showcases New Zealand, and you know, it might take a while to build up what we need to build up, but you got to start some friggin' work.
Come on, Kiwi, get off your asses and support us. Come on, this is
how am I? You know, welcome to my house, basically, and that's why I asked Chris to come on. You know, hang out, like make it more. I mean, I don't want it just about me, man. Everybody be like, it's just him all the time. But I want to open it to everybody. Like it's there. Then that's why I set up the chat. So this year, the chat's got 20 people in it, right? At any given time, if you're free, jump in. Don't care, jump in. You know, tell us what you're doing. Let's go. And so hopefully Nugget can come on and talk about his character. You know what he can do, and Michael. You know, Michael made like writes. Is he like? I haven't really ever touched base with him recently, but he writes for like newspaper, doesn't he, or publications or something like that. We'll have to find out from him because he'll be cool to have on as well. But yeah. So we were saying like this is the after party. So 2 hours is up. So this is the what is this? Kiwis and comic books after party. So that's where we're at now.
I might have to dip because I have to put my children to bed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The after party might be fairly short-lived.
Thank you, Jason, for coming on. Really appreciate it.
I'm feeling
I've probably already woken up my kids with that laugh, but
thank you, Lynette, and thank you, Rex, Chris, and thank you, Jason. Really appreciate it, guys. If you want to hang out. If not, we can close it off. I mean, and I'll edit down, and we'll send up the stuff to you guys. Is there anything coming up that you guys want to chuck out there with your whatever your groups are with, and you know events going on in your area?
Lynette, what do you got going on? You want to give us a plug on your socials or what you got going on?
Yeah, I guess I've got I've got my latest episode of Shapeshifters of Wraith is actually just went online today. So that's up and running. I interviewed a New Zealand cosplayer along with one stateside talking about performance. So that was a very interesting watch for which I did record live at the calling. So there is a lot of background noise, but bear with me. There is very good content there. I'm also going to possibly in the next week put up a recap of my my trip away, a full recap. We had a little bit of a taste tester at the beginning of this chat. and hopefully I will be going to the pre-release that will be at Card Merchant this weekend. I think it starts at 1-ish. I think if you really want to know the full details, just get a hold of Min. He's there every day, and he'll probably let you know if you're interested in trying out Flesh and Blood. Yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at, and I'm Fabled Hero everywhere. Instagram, Facebook. I need to put more work on there. TikTok and X, formerly known as Twitter.
Right. What do people call it now? I heard Eric Bischoff, he calls it Twix now.
I just call it Twitter.
It's Twitter. It'll always be Twitter.
I just call it Twitter, but it's X.
X is a shit name.
It's Twitter on there. It's not X.com. It's Twitter. Right? The name's Twitter. Right there.
Yeah. And we still tweet.
Yeah.
But you got
what do you do?
like
X now? I don't know.
That sounds like what you do to your ex.
Yeah. If you give me 2 minutes, I'll be able to fully indulge in the after show. I'll be fully invested. I just gotta check on my family. I'll dip out for 2 minutes and then I'll be back.
All right. You do that, and I'll take you guys through what we're doing at the moment. I'm actually planning our Kickstarter, which is Robot Nation Volume 1, Number 1. All up 36 pages. Art and everything else, like actual pages of comic, is 28 pages, not your 22, standard, American Marvel DC comic, but 28 pages. You get 12 pages for one story. You get 16 pages for another story. One's on Earth, one's in space. At the moment, it's a black and white. We're going to offer digital black and white or colored. $2 difference because, of course, you got to pay the colorist, so it's a bit more expensive on that end. But also, we're going to do a full color, comic out, which is being illustrated now. So in a couple of weeks, we'll have the the coloring. So this is an actual cover by another artist, right? So this is one of our risque covers. That's going to be full colored. Has been full colored, to be honest. I've received it today. And it's the color's been done by another American artist who just approached me on Facebook. I interviewed him last year about his work, and then he just, hey, I'll be interested in doing something for you. I said, what could you do? What are you interested in? And he said, I could, do inks, and I will, I can do colors. And I went, colors and inks is great, because we had the pencils done, and so this is a foil cover, right? This is me designing the foil cover. So it was just Francisco's art, and then I took the cover art and I just removed everything else and just put this, this tone in it, like color tone gradient, so that, from red to sort of like silver, and it's going to look beautiful in chrome, not chrome, sorry, foil. So I did it on specially, so it would be a foil special offering, but it's my cover design. And then, so this is the kind of the art you'll see inside. This is just a panel from it, right? This one's this is called Robot Nation, which is a title story, which is 12 pages long, based here in New Zealand. What's that? What's that port on the way to Whale Bay before Nganguru?
I'm not sure. Sorry.
Lynette?
My New Zealand geography is shocking.
Across from Limestone.
Across from Limestone.
Yeah.
No, that's I'm thinking. Across from Limestone.
Yeah, on the way out, and so you just go straight out, and then you have to turn a left onto Whale Bay, and
I've never been out to Whale Bay, but I've been to where you're talking about, and my brain's not functioning anymore.
It's not Nganguru, is it? No, Nganguru is further up north.
Nganguru is around the coast a bit further. And you turn off before you go to Partau South.
Yeah.
So I have been to live there.
So this story is actually it's Takapuna. It's written friggin' there. How could I not see it? Tutakaka, look.
Tutakaka, yeah.
Tutakaka from the East Coast, right? So this is
Yeah,
actually,
it's further around you.
yeah, so it's actually a Tutakaka, which is like about 20-30 minutes from here. And then so that story is about basically about two people, him, right, him here and her, right, the two of them. So it's based it's about a relationship. It's kind of like a relationship, kind of like she has like kind of like, you know, depression kind of things like going on with her life. And so they've been chucked into a sort of like a dystopian situation while they've been away on holiday, while he's been taking, you know, sort of like, you know how you have time out away from people. So they did that. And so while they were away, then they come back and they come into this, right, everything's changed. So that's Robot Nation. That's 12 pages. And then you come down to space, right? With the trouble with Bobo. And here you are in space. And it's about a family, mom, dad, and little kid. And, you know, and so you've got, you know, mom and dad, and the story about the three of them and how they behave as family in a situation. You know, they're landing on a planet, and I think it's Venus, if I remember right, because they've run out of gas, right? So they have to land no matter what. And so they land and they find themselves in trouble. So this is the pencil work. The Francisco, he's Italian, that's worked on this with me. And, you know, so I think, so this is the page, like this is the pencils page for that one way back up here, right? So this is going to be in Kickstarter probably end of February or early March. We just got to work out all the pieces together. So that's that page there I was showing you. So you can see the detail, you know, the planning of it. So you got that inked finished page, and then you've got the colors coming on. But here you've got the pencil work. I just always get amazed by, you know, artists, like especially comic artists, how they can plan ahead, you know, like this will be black, this won't be, and, you know, and how it'll look in their head. And, you know, because he's done his own inks. A lot of time people don't do their own inks. As I mentioned earlier with the cover, with this cover up here, this one here, right, with the robot. This is actually just came to us penciled by James D. Hill. And then we had an artist called G-Spot, you know, G-Spot, he went and inked it, and then he also went and colored it. I don't want to show the final colors of that yet because I want to be a surprise. But there's also, let me come down here.
This looks amazing, Aru, and I'm really happy to have been on tonight. But
Yep.
I'm just going to have to jump off.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you heaps.
I appreciate coming on, man. Hey, have a good day tomorrow. Have a good weekend. Thank you guys for watching us. Like I said, this is the after the event. So the 2 hours is up. I appreciate it. Hey,
see you later.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Anytime you want to jump on, it'll be cool. All right. Anybody else watching? You're welcome to come chat. We're waiting for Rex. I don't want to jump off before Rex comes back on, so I'll waffle a bit. So till then, now one of the other things that we did do a show and tell this week on. Let me just bring it up. We did one of our shows that we do is called "What's Cooking" at you know, Rising Sun Comics. I'm not Rising Sun, it's Plunge Comics, right? So we did a piece this week about we had on, where did you go? Past lives. Oh, here it is. So we had a bit of show and tell with our colorist, who's going to also be coloring this. That's this cover here is colored by this artist who is let me just stop that one and bring the other one on. It's Francisco, sorry, not Francisco, Hugo Aquino. And so I had him on and we talked about some of the work. We did a bit of show and tell where he is with Incredi-Girl 2. Let me just, and we're talking about this one here. So let me just bring that up when it catches up. You know, and so yeah, it's pretty cool. So I'll link it here so you guys can check it. So he's been working on 2 pages, and we're talking about how like it's how his art changed from the flashback to normal, and you know we were talking about his work, his style, and what he was doing with it, and this one, the style here is what I want for him to bring into Robot Nation, because I want that European soft touch cartoony feel to it, kind of like the 2000 AD. So it actually doesn't look like a modern day comic. I want it to look like something out of the 80s or even 90s, and not the flashy sort of really heavy toned stuff for the interiors, because I think, you know, having a softer touch to Robot Nation would give it a different element altogether. And so if in a later stage we have somebody else come in, they can do their style. But I just wanted, for this story as the opening, you know, #1 issue, we would have something a bit more, a bit more European, because the artists are European. So might as well actually carry on with the theme of it. So that was one page that we looked at. Then we looked at this other page. Am I right, or am I on the same page? Let me just pop across and here. So this is another kind of like a flashback kind of page, and we discussed about why this character, is a sculpture, and we talked about how I myself, I'm a ceramic sculptor, I'm a painter, and all that stuff. Like, I'm multitasking all the time, but I don't illustrate anymore. When I was in my could say in my teens, in my 20s, before I had my wrist injury, it's kind of like just drawing, and just because I had my arm in 3 months in a cast, right, and that was it. It was like I just didn't feel like drawing, and I don't draw anymore. And so if I do, it's digital, and it's just to create stuff. So you can see here, I was talking about like the colors for that stuff. We just did like a work in progress cover of that, but we didn't really talk about it much. But here's the cover for issue 2, for Incredi-Girl 2, that's coming out, and we've already finished half of the book with the with the lettering, as well as, I think I've finished half the lettering myself, because I do the lettering and design, but the artwork, like illustration and inks, and pencils and inks, has already been completed for like about 10 or 11 pages of it, because it's only I think it's a 24-page comic book. And then this is the artist who did the interior, so cover A will always be the interior artist's work, and so it's his own style as a cover. But it's kind of we're showing off some of the work. This is the full page of the ones that's colored. So next time we'll do it, like, we're kind of like doing a weekly catch up, where we do the what's cooking at Plunge Comics, and that way you guys get to see where we're going with, how far we've gotten along with the processes, and and we always, talking with the artists, you get to see behind, kind of like the thinking behind what's being, what comes onto the paper finally in front of people, what you get to pick up and read, or even if you're getting the digital copy, right? So there is that. And so we're talking about his other stuff, from issue 1, and here's the work from issue 1 that you can see on, on our Kickstarter, and so on. And the thing about this book is a PG, kind of all audience, like parental guidance kind of thing, because there is some, soft violence, right? But it's really for all ages, and that's the theme for it. And that's why it's over at the Rising Sun page, and not under our own banner, under Plunge Comics NZ, right? Or Plunge Studios. Yeah, I think it's Plunge Comics NZ. So because of that, we have a separation between what's for everybody, all ages, and what's for mature readers, right? 15 plus. Because what we're doing over this under Plunge Comics page on Kickstarter is for more mature readers, right? So you can like have more violence, more aggressive stuff going on, more aggressive, like not aggressive, more like in-depth discussions about stuff, and topics are different, a bit more mature, and what you see is a bit more mature as well. So we get, it's just a way I've just wanted to keep it apart like that from what's happening on what we're doing and what's happening on the all ages section, because that way I feel like that way we're actually making sure that there's a border between what's there for everybody and what's there for older people.